On my second night alone in a fire lookout, 6 hours deep in wilderness, no locks on the door, no cell service, no weapon. I looked out the window. He was standing at the bottom of the stairs. Same man, same clothes, still carrying nothing, just staring up. And I knew, on night 3, he was coming inside. Let me back up. I'd rented this fire lookout in the middle of a national forest, the most isolated one I could find, called Raven's Peak. No electricity, no running water. You hike 6 hours through wilderness just to reach it. Peak season. Barely anyone had booked it. That should have been my first red flag. But the real warning? That came from the ranger. When I picked up the key, the ranger looked at me and said, 3 nights? Most folks only book 1. Gets lonely up there. I laughed, told him lonely was the whole point. 6 hours later, I'm standing in front of this thing. Not a tall fire tower like you picture. Short, squat, sitting on a stone base, maybe 15 feet up. Spiral staircase wrapping around it. Windows on every single wall. At the time, I thought perfect. 360 views. I can see everything coming. I didn't realize what that actually meant at night. Because at night, those windows don't let you see out. They let everyone else see in. First night, I'm lying on the floor in my sleeping bag. Pitch black outside. Not city dark, actual dark. Can't see your hand dark. And I hear it. Boots. On the stairs. Slow. 1 step at a time. My whole body locks up. There's no one out here. The nearest road is 6 hours away. There's zero reason for another human being to be on those stairs at midnight. The footsteps stop. A shadow fills the doorway. And then he just walks in. Late 40s. Lean. Shoulder-length blonde hair. And here's what froze my blood. He was carrying nothing. No backpack. No water. No flashlight. Nothing. You don't hike 6 hours through wilderness at night, carrying nothing. Unless you didn't hike. Unless you were already out here. He smiled like he'd been expecting me. Perfect spot to spend a few nights. Mind if I come in? I told him I had a reservation. 3 nights, he said, and I'll never forget how calm his voice was. Plenty of space for 2. You're alone, aren't you? 6 hours from civilization. No cell service. No locks. No weapon. And a stranger who somehow knows I'm alone. What would you do? I lied. Told him my buddy was 10 minutes behind me on the trail with the rest of our gear. His smile cracked. Just for a second. Like a mask slipping. He nodded. Turned around. Started walking down. And that's when I noticed, going down, same as coming up. He had nothing on him. No pack. No supplies. Not even a water bottle. In wilderness this remote, that's not weird. That's impossible. I barely slept. But morning came. And you know how mornings work. Sunlight makes everything feel stupid. Birds chirping. Warm air. I almost convinced myself I'd overreacted. Then I walked downstairs. A note. Pinned to the railing. 1 word. In neat handwriting. Sorry. With a smiley face. He came back. While I was sleeping. Stood outside. Maybe inches from the glass. Watching me through those windows. Left his little note. And disappeared. I barely slept. But morning came. And you know how mornings work. Sunlight makes everything feel stupid. Birds chirping. Warm air. I almost convinced myself I'd overreacted. Then I walked downstairs. A note. Pinned to the railing. 1 word. In neat handwriting. Sorry. With a smiley face. He came back. While I was sleeping. Stood outside, maybe inches from the glass, watching me through those windows. Left his little note. And disappeared. Night 2. I hung my lantern high. Stayed awake. Watched the darkness pressing against every window. Around midnight, I had to go outside. Nature called. I grabbed my lantern, went down, stepped just past the tree line. Movement. Something shifting in the dark, just past my light. A shadow pulling away from other shadows. I ran back up those stairs. And then I did something I'll always regret. I kept checking the windows. Every 30 seconds. Window. Pack my bag. Window. Pack. Window. Pack. Until everything was packed. One last look. He was at the bottom of the stairs. Motionless. Same man. Same clothes. Same nothing in his hands. Not looking at me. Looking at the first step. Like he was making a decision. 2 minutes. He stood there for 2 full minutes. Then he stepped back. Turned. Disappeared into the black. I knew, not guessed, knew he'd be back. And next time. He wasn't stopping at the bottom. I waited 15 minutes. Knife open. Backpack on. Crept down those stairs. Every creak sounding like a gunshot. And then I did the thing that terrifies me most in this whole story. I walked into a moonless forest. Alone. Knowing he was somewhere in it. 5 hours. 5 hours through pitch-black woods with a lantern that was basically a spotlight screaming, "Here I am." Dawn broke. I made it out. Most people wouldn't have. Here's what keeps me up at night. I told him I was staying 3 nights. He had no reason to come back on night 2 to check if I was still there. No reason, unless he had a plan for night 3. Since I got back, I looked into the rental records for Raven's Peak. The lookout has an unusually high cancellation rate. 3 people in the last decade booked stays and never came back. All 3 booked 3 nights. All 3 were alone. And I'm certain, absolutely certain, none of them left early. Drive comments, shares, and next video click. Here's my question for you. That ranger who warned me it gets lonely, up there, do you think he was warning me? Or was he part of it? Drop your theory in the comments. Because something about this doesn't add up. And I don't think I've figured out the whole story yet.